And you made it to the last part of the project. This is the excretory system before you move on to your final product for doctor diagnosis. Excretory system is, again, a bit misleading like the last workspace title because we specifically talk about how the urinary system excrete waste in our body. So you're going to look at the kidney and you're going to look at the functional part of the kidney, which is this nephron. And what does a nephron do to basically create urine? You're also going to look at, and this is the first time you've probably seen a really specific negative feedback loop, what's called ADH or antidiuretic hormone and aldosterone in the maintaining of homeostasis. So in your workspace introduction, you'll note I have given you that piece of the project. Couple pictures on there as well for you. There's only 4 pieces of evidence that need to be collected, but I warn you right now, this is very similar to digestion, where you will have lots of words and lots of processes and lots of things you'll have to memorize. Anatomy, memorizing. I don't know how else to say it. You have to put the work in to memorize what's happening. So there's a whole bunch of words there that you probably want to become familiar with before you start looking at the resources, but I have an excretory introduction and then a nephron structure and function. So it goes more specifically into what actually the nephron does. I've included some additional diagrams or some resources for you, some tables, some simplified pictures to maybe help explain that, and then some pieces of the textbook on the excretory system, as well as the glossary. You'll note, like I said, there's only 4 pieces of evidence that have to be collected. The nephron function, then there's the negative feedback loop, the conditions, always coming back, and then those patient files, and it's excretory Erica that you've met in this file. There's also an optional lab, and again, this depends on if the materials are available, not necessary for you to understand what's going on, but it could enrich your learning and deepen your learning. It's a urinalysis, and so you basically take some urine and you analyze it. So it's fake urine. If your teacher has access to that, chat with them and see what works out there. There is an outcome quiz and that assessment rubric you're coming back to, and that optional lab rubric. And you're probably getting to that point now where you're starting to think, how am I going to put this all together? How am I going to put my final product together? So make sure you check out that workspace introduction video on final product before you really get too deep.